Hello viewers and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. Interesting moments ahead as more exposés are coming in. And we need to take a look on Mukoma Brighton Mutebuka. He is exposing something very important right here, raised by my brother Brighton Mutebuka. And it's very important for us to have this piece because it will enlighten the people of Zimbabwe in terms of where we are going and where we are coming from as a nation. And let us take a look on what he says, political and legal issues arising from the two leaked alleged Chivhayo's audios. This is something very important in Zimbabwe. And no matter how they will try to spin a narrative, a different narrative, they will never run away from the truth, which is right here. So number one, we have to take a look on the nature and extent of the relationship between Chivhayo and ED and how it has raised eyebrows for some time. And during that particular moment where a lot of people were asking questions about that relationship, Mnangagwa then ignored it and literally thrust Chivhayo into the national prominence. He continued to meet with Chivhayo ku Sherwood Farm. He continued to meet Chivhayo at the airport at Chiperekedzwa, and he continued to have a meeting na Chivhayo with the Kenyan president. That raised a lot of eyebrows and brought all this scrutiny which you are seeing right now. So coupled with the slogan 2030 Chipo, then this angered a lot of people and they are now throwing evidence of what is happening. Remember, apana chinoitika, the military intelligence isingazvizive, police intelligence isingazvizive, state intelligence isingazvizive. I don't see any three of those missing these links because they are heavily embedded in everything which happens. Whether ZANU-PF, whether co-opposition, whether the coup, there is no way you will evade team intelligence one way or the other. Vanenge vanewe nemumvura mese vakakusona because they always have their way and their own people who seem very loyal. So you'll be very loyal, but then number three, there does not appear to be any rational or credible explanation for that state of affairs or relationship between Mnangagwa and Chivhayo. The major question is, why is ED readily willing to pay the political cost of associating with Chivhayo? What is it in the calculus that makes it worth his while? A very important question. Why is President Mnangagwa willing to be seen with Chivhayo, Passion Java, Mike Chimombe, and all these crooks? And we have seen Chivhayo partaking in norm-shredding and outrageous behavior, including an unprecedented spree of offering free motor vehicles and huge sums of cash to many members of the public, ordinary ones and high-profile ones. Very important to note, this is a person who is seen very close to President Mnangagwa each and every time. He's the same person who is also making headlines for donating cars and money to affiliates of ZANU-PF. So this is worsened by Chivhayo's previous criminal conviction, where he was convicted of fraud. And also, this brings us to the issue of Gwanda Solar Project, and also an absence of a credible business footprint outside tenderpreneurism. I want to give you an example. Go to a person like Justice Mayor Wajajena. Mayor Wajajena chero akanzimbava ane marori ari kumhanya mroad. Ane, I think, service station vanenge vachimhanya vachitengesa fuel. There is, to a certain extent, a justification of their actions in business. Saka chero pavanoba, you will be overshadowed by small legitimate things they will be doing. So you see that when you come to Chivhayo, there is nothing at all to point at to say, okay, Chivhayo has done A, B, C, D. Gwanda Solar Project for the past 10 years, they failed. It has failed to kick off. But Chivhayo got a controversial 22 million lawsuit from ZPC. That also raises eyebrows because the justice system could have said to Chivhayo, no, there are no damages dzekuti you claim damages up to 22 million. Million chachayo aitonzi abhadharwa mari refu yakawandisa if they were damages. That is the truth. So the fact that that Chivhayo is a politically exposed person, PEP, and there is a clear disconnect between his business profile and the shenanigans referred to above. And if he is clean, he must share his accounts filing history. He must show us my declared dividends and my tax contributions if it measures up to scrutiny. You are running a company, Mr. Chivhayo. You will be paid my dividends by that company. Where are the dividends? Where are the accounts filing histories of your companies and yourself? Where are your tax contributions? Those are the issues which will exonerate you. Once we see tax contributions to Zimra, once we have seen declared dividends to you and your other shareholders, once we have seen accounts filing histories, then we know that Mr. Chivhayo is doing a legitimate business. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to provide the proof of those items, those documents, and they will exonerate you. So in many genuine democracies, there are obvious concerns pertaining to risks of corruption, and the PEPs are routinely given generous access to powerful politicians. In this case, we are talking about the presidents. That concern then turns into alarm when that access, which is unseemly, by the way, and impeccable of being justifiable objectively, is followed by such a person suddenly appearing to flaunt unexplained wealth and doing so recklessly without any reference to credible business practices. Vachivhayo dai vanga vachinzi ndiye muridzi wemabhazi ari kumhanya murodhumu akazara murodhumu. I want to give you an example. There is a company yakamboita mbiri yakanzi Makanaka what. The reason why that company is difficult to touch is they have lorries. Numerous lorries which are running around. Achitakura mamaini, achitakura kupi, cross border and everything else. They have buses. In almost every route you see there are buses. Which means even if you are to come and say, you guys, you are doing things illegally, they will say, we are employing 1,500 people. Each of them getting so and so and so. This is the wage bill. So what are you saying? And you will find it difficult to scrutinize them because they have a basis. How many people are being employed by Chivhayo? We have never heard anything. All the companies, these are shelf companies which are doing no business. So if you get into the two sensational and explosive audios which are now in the public domain, then there is a picture which emerges, which appears credible in light of the earlier alarm raised above to say Chivhayo is involved in ABCD. There is a list of letters, and the people involved do not deny those letters. Mike Chumombe and Moses Impof, they remain quiet. Then audios start to come out. And ZANU-PF people are there on the forefront to first defend Wikino Chivhayo. Then another audio comes. And this one is a blockbuster. And everybody is running scared. So if you read the first audio together with the letter of demand, which was shared by Newsworks, about a falling out which has taken place over the ZEC tender, you'd see that there is a lot to be investigated there. If the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission was really there to end corruption, that letter had leads, and the first audio would have made Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, without asking the authors of the letter, they would have gone to ZEC to say, can you please show us notice of tender? Can you show us a publication? And it's easy because they simply refer to the letter which is referred to Zimbabwe, to Herald and other newspapers. And then you go to the paper, to the physical paper, to say, here is the tender advert. But nothing like that is there. So this tender was never made public. And it's unclear what criteria was used to award it. And the first audio, as read with the letter of demand, suggests that Chivhayo, Mpofu, and Chimombe Sakupkanya are at the center of the scandal. So without even having these boys explain their participation in this tender and how they got it, Zimbabwe Electoral Commission itself, its leaders must be arrested by Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, because that is the reason why they are spending millions of dollars occupying such offices. But do we see anything happening? No. Why? It's because there is somebody very, very big involved in this whole thing. That is the reason why Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission cannot make a move on ZEC. Then you go to the second audio, which was recently released. And as read with the first letter, together with the additional information released by Newsworks, is allegedly that ZEC chairperson is the person cited in the second audio. And other prominent figures like the Director General of the CIO and also the Martin Rushwaya from the OPC. If you put all these things together, you'd actually start to realize the reason why there is no move from Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission to bust that corrupt activity which happened. So it's reported that Justice Priscilla Chigumba, ZEC chairperson, was given the right of reply and simply gave a terse and dismissive response saying that she does not comment on fiction, a clearly unsatisfactory response given the seriousness of the allegations. Newsworks, as a newspaper, they gave Chigumba and all other parties a right of reply, including Chivhayo. None of them went to reply to Newsworks to say, I am Priscilla Chigumba, I have a right of reply, here is my view, here is my side of the story. Both of them, kushuka kunana Chivhayo, kushuka kunana Mike Chimombe, nana Moses Mpofu, none of them commented on that report. They all kept quiet. So bearing in mind that the author already questioned the basis of the relationship between ED and Chivhayo. And let us say, given that it is common cause that there was no transparency in the awarding of the tender. And if you take a look on Chivhayo's previous criminal conviction and the nature of that conviction, and, the clear allusion to the fear of being caught out by anti-money laundering measures, the centrality of all mentioned public officials in the awarding of the tender, and the relevance of similar previous allegations in the AJ's unit Explosive Gold Mafia documentaries, which were never adequately addressed, it is clear that there is now a pattern that is emerging. Guys, tell me, my audios Chivhayo, they are clearly making it a case to say they are paying in small amounts because they want to evade money laundering activities here in South Africa. That is the reason why they are doing so using Shoma. What does it mean? It means if you put everything together, then it makes sense, because if this money is legitimate, there is no need for these men to hide anything because they can prove that their companies were involved in these tenders. So the pattern is unequivocally shows the absence of probity at the heart of the current regime. This is worsened by the fact that you have got a behemoth national entity such as the Mutapa Investment Fund, the country's sovereign wealth fund, currently effectively operating without any independent oversight. A huge red flag for the opaque operation which has seen many state-owned companies being bundled together. So they say the guys, Mutapa Investment Fund, remember, Yakanzi, it no longer goes through tender or any public scrutiny. which means they are now going to do whatever they want without anybody knowing, because the statutory instrument was erected and we spoke about it. On many occasions, ED has shown a preponderance towards working without transparency and oversight. His default mode appears to be governed via statutory instruments, many of which are cobbled up with unseemly haste, as if deliberately designed to minimize scrutiny or to make sure that there is no accountability, and also it becomes an issue of looting prolific. So if you take a look on all that behavior, the facilities and cultivates, facilitates and cultivates an environment that results in the emergence of issues that have arisen in this saga. All what you are seeing right now is because of the behavior shown by the number one and his team. So the audio sensationally refers to capturing and harvesting tender opportunities in virtually all sectors. Kuti G. Mukati kati. The use of such terms is instructive, especially given that the audio is claiming that all this is facilitated by ED. Ndo zvakataurwa naChivhayo. That is the reason why there is a rush by these people to try and exonerate President Mnangagwa, because vazviona kuti vanyura. But in doing so, they are pinning everything on Chivhayo, clamping down on Chivhayo, not knowing kuti the first thing is to show us how Chivhayo is getting these tenders in the first place. Before you exonerate President Mnangagwa, show us how Chivhayo is getting this tender in the first place and the reason why ZAC is not getting traction on these issues. So it's corruption and rent-seeking behavior on steroids. Remember that we are already coming from an environment which is that association or relationship is unseemingly in the ordinary course of events. So the claims in the audio are powerful and persuasive to the extent that they establish a potential credible motive for the relationship, namely illicit financial rewards. So in conclusion, the writer is afraid that there are credible grounds for concluding that there is a high degree of likelihood that ED and the office of the presidency are highly likely to be facilitating the use of the office of the president to commit high crimes in office through allowing access to that office to be used as conduit in the award of tenders in state entities corruptly to undeserving elements. This is happening, guys, and there is nothing these people would do to clear their names, because they have been fingered in corrupt activities and havana justification. So ordinarily, but not for a captured parliament and other state institutions, just like in gold mafia, we should be seeing efforts underway to trigger the establishment of a commission of inquiry into state capture, pursuant to already the same time that the wheels of impeachment have been. Parliament is serious right now. Tingadai takutonzwa kunzi vaba Mnangagwa chisana ikurongedza mabhegi yenyu muchiuya kuzotitsanangurira relationship yenyu naChivhayo, and that was going to be corroborated by the calling of Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission into action again, kuti vanofana kunge vari mu witness stand vese Zaki na Mnangagwa, kuti why is it Zaki akafeila kupika zvinhu zvakadai so, because mari padziri kubuda, every transaction must be under the watch of Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. Anti-laundering institutions, RBZ, all these institutions must put my flags. What is happening with these payments? So it is of course acknowledged that ED is currently exceptionally powerful and as a result presently beyond the reach of the law, with any attempt at enforcement action likely to be extremely dangerous, if not fatal. He is untouchable. You don't touch Emmerson Mnangagwa. You don't touch Emmerson Mnangagwa. So this is the reason why a lot of people are now believing Kuti Vision 2030 is not only about Mnangagwa getting into office for the sake of being in office. It's about leaving somebody in power who will protect what was looted. This brings us back to 15 billion era yakataurwa naRobert Mugabe. So, you know, what is happening right now? The end of God is at play. The end of God is at play, and if they don't play their cards very well, kuchachemwa. And corruption is costing Zimbabwe billions. This is the reason why you see we continue to say it's not sanctions, it's corruption. It's not sanctions, it's corruption. Why is it that you are not willing to address things in your control? The reason why I always argue about sanctions is because we are not in control of sanctions, but we are in control of corruption. Mnangagwa can make all the corrupt people get arrested and rot in jail. Yes, but you can't arrest yourself. You can't arrest yourself. By not arresting criminals like Chivhayo, you are simply confirming that you are part of it. It's shameful. And this is it in Zimbabwe. This is it. I hope and believe that you are going to be helped by this analysis from my brother Brighton Mtebuka. Very important and powerful analysis there. And he has managed as a lawyer to outline how the criminal enterprise is operating in Zimbabwe. So it is what it is. We continue to watch and see what is going to happen next. Are we going to see any arrests? I doubt.